and these girls don't stand a chance in stopping me, cause I'ma reach it to the top. Over caffeinated, yeah, never stop. But you were praying I was gonna be a flop. Well, watch me gon' do me. So cameras fresh and pretty, glimmer as I walk on by. Just from head to toe to eyes on me on the spotlight. Diamond sizzle shining, got me dripping icy white. Flick my hair, ain't got no care as I walk away. You got me hooked, baby. Yeah, you're my fantasy. You got the look, baby. Yeah, you're the one for me. You got me shook, baby. Took time for me to see, but you're the one for me. Yeah, you're my fantasy. Look at me now. I'm the blueprint for your bounce back. All these other biddies, man, cause they ain't that. Looking in the mirror like, damn, who's she? That's me, gas them. Hey, shit, then I did it. Making money moves cause I spend it, so I win it. Keep my circle.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to welcome you back to The Blueprint, powered by Visible, the blueprint to the business of you. We're so happy to have you all here today and would love to hear where you're tuning in from in the chat. So let us know where you're tuning in from. I am going to introduce myself and my small but mighty team, Young Adults, formerly Next Step Up team. So I'm Sophia, the director of Young Adult Programs, and I'm tuning in from Massachusetts, but like a little birdie, I'll be flying west soon to LA. So you can catch me there soon. And then, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess Mara, and I'm the manager of Young Adult Programs, and I am joining from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd love to share a few friendly reminders. So we're asking that everyone take a moment and adjust their display name to reflect three things: your name, your role, and your pronouns. You can look at the screen and see what I mean. It's especially important to put down your role, YA, if you are 18 to 23, mentor or staff, so that we can sort you into the right breakout groups later. We love to ask that everyone who is able turn on your cameras to please do so, even though we're not physically in person. We love to create that feeling, and it supports us in creating an intimate, safe, and brave space for everyone. All participants' mics will be on mute until we go into our breakout sessions, so feel free to add your positive comments and reactions in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. Additionally, if you need support with anything at all throughout the event, please feel free to message Bree/staff/she in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess Mara. And thank you to the Blueprint founding sponsor, Visible. Visible is reimagining what wireless should be: simple, accessible, and inclusive. Visible's social good initiatives focus on racial equity, mental wellness, and civic action. Through its support of Step Up's The Blueprint, Visible is inspiring the next generation of leaders to consider how they can drive change in their communities. You can learn more at visible.com/about-us. Thank you so much, Visible, for launching The Blueprint with us. It's been a blast so far. So our hope for you is to walk away from today's session with some life hacks for this elusive concept called balance, and an understanding of the importance to mastering time management on your journey to success. We will start with an icebreaker activity. Then we will hear from the time tutor herself, Hanifa Barnes. Hanifa will share a bit about her story and skills to help you successfully create more balance and productivity in your life. You'll then have the opportunity to discuss different aspects of these topics in small groups during the breakout sessions. Mentors, your role today is to model participation by having your cameras on, being present, engaging in the chat, completing the self-reflection exercises, and imparting words of encouragement, solidarity, and support during the mentorship moment breakout sessions. I'm going to pass it over to Jess Mara for our icebreaker.
Thank you, Sophia. So before we start our conversation on life hacks for balancing your schedule, let's talk about what your schedule consists of. We all have a lot to balance, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. So tell us what takes up most of your schedule. There's a Zoom poll that will pop up shortly, and let us know, is it A, school/work? Is it B, social life, family events, friends, networking events? C, social media? Do you spend maybe way too much time scrolling the TikTok, like maybe Sophia and myself? No shame. or side hustles. This might be an internship, passion project, or maybe you have a part-time job while you take classes. And I see we've got lots of school/work, a few social media coming in second, definitely understand. And then once everyone has answered, then we will share the results so that we can see where we all stand. All right, so it looks like we have school in number one, and then we have social media and side hustles tied, which is pretty interesting. I love a good side hustle. And then social life in third. So we will talk a little bit more about how to balance all of that. I'm sure there are other things that we didn't cover, so we'll talk about that shortly. Thank you guys for participating.
Thanks, Jasmira. I'm so excited to introduce our topic expert, Hanifa Barnes, the time tutor. Hanifa Barnes is a coach and impact strategist, leveraging nearly 20 years of leadership experience to help mission-driven organizations reimagine time to maximize productivity for purposeful impact. She considers herself a free-spirited professional who has cracked the code on work-life balance and impact-driven success. How perfect for us. She is here to help you reframe the way you see yourself making positive progress and create a lifeline of resources, tools, and long-lasting techniques that will shift you from being overwhelmed to being full of purpose. If you have any questions for Hanifa during her presentation, you can send them directly to me and I will get them to Hanifa during the Q&A portion at the end. Welcome, Hanifa.
I'm still working on getting off mute after all this time. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, all the Step Up team and everyone here. I'm so excited to be here. So I will jump right in. Thank you, Kayla, and all those coming from all of your respective places. It's great to see Chicago, Toronto, LA. I'm hailing from New Jersey. So thank you to all of you for being here. And we're going to jump right in. So next slide. So whenever I do a discussion, I always like to start with kind of the startling statistics, because that actually allows us to really get a good sense of what is the point of this whole discussion. So here is part of the real point, your health, right? When it comes to that blueprint, when you're establishing that blueprint, you have to figure out what are the things that work to find that balance because of your health. Stress statistics alone show us why it's so important to figure out what works for you in your blueprint. 77% of people say stress impacts their physical health, and I'm one of those 77%. 73% say mental health. I'm one of those. 80% say stress at work. I'm one of those. And 51% of women say that they are stressed, and I identify as a woman. So there you go. That should give you an indicator of why we're doing this work and why it's important for you to have the clear steps for yourself in your blueprint. So next slide. So as Sophia mentioned, I'm Hanifa Barnes, and yes, I'm a time coach and strategist, but my work is really about the mission-driven and really helping those mission-driven individuals and organizations understand how to reimagine time for purposeful impact. Why do I say purposeful impact? It's because time management is not just about 86,400 seconds, 1,440 minutes, and 24 hours. For me, it started at a very young age. I've learned. I was born in Monrovia, Liberia, West Africa. 9 months after I was born, I almost died. I was extremely sick, living. I was on an incubator. My mom thought I was not going to be here. And even though I don't remember or recall the physical trauma of that whole experience, I think it left a mark on my life because from a very young age, I was always chasing time. I was a kid turning in my permission slips 5 days ahead of time. Homework was in advance. Everything, I think, was this fear of I'm not going to have time. And it became an unhealthy relationship. And as I got older, I chased degrees, I chased success, I chased status, I chased money. And you might say, well, that's great, but not if it's unhealthy. And so I really had to get to a place to really reimagine time for myself and reframe my relationship with time. And so kind of on the other side of my leadership and this journey, I've really learned to do that. And in doing so, I help individuals and organizations who are mission driven do the same. Next slide. And so when you think about the idea of mission, right, you all mentioned 70, I think the majority of you said school was really pulling at you. And if you're in school, or even if you're working that side hustle or that job, there's a mission you have for yourself. And in that mission, you need that blueprint to be clear on the goal for the mission. And so what I pose to you is, what holds you back from your ideal blueprint and establishing that mission? Because we all deal with those things that hold us back. And I love this time quote. Is something I mentioned in probably every presentation, is this: the bad news is time flies, but the good news is you're the pilot. So you have autonomy and responsibility in your process towards your blueprint. Next slide. So today I want us to go to the spa. Now, no, I'm not, we're not going to the actual spa because we're all in different places, but just imagine yourself going to the spa when you think about your life hacks and balancing. I mean, I know I love the spa, and I know many of you here would love the spa. I mean, it's a great way to just kind of kick back, but the importance of understanding the spa, not only is it a great mental framing, right, for what we're going to talk about, but it also helps you to kind of have an easy way to access and understand what we're going to talk about today. So going to the spa means this: the S is for structure, which is about kind of these tools to build your system. The P is for protect, is how you guard your time and that system. And the A is for to adapt, and your ability to be flexible when everything you planned doesn't always turn out the way you expect. Next slide. So we're going to break down each of all of SPA. So for those of you listening, make sure you take some notes or snap pictures or whatever it is. So that way, when we do have the reflection exercise later, you'll have a great reference point. Okay. And feel free to ask questions as we go, drop it in the chat. I'm definitely going to answer questions later. But when it comes to structure, three things: planning, process, and practice. Forgive me now, I'm a former teacher. I like alliteration, or the words that start with same letter. So you'll see some of that in this presentation. But when you're structuring, your planning is, the first step in planning is understanding what is your learning style, right? Or another word for learning style is your modality. Right? Because if you don't really have a good grip on that style, then all the tools you try might not even work because it doesn't fit your style. So there are four types of most common styles that especially I've recognized in my work. Tactile, so you like to touch to learn, right? Auditory, you like to hear or need to hear. Visual, you need to see it. And kinesthetic, you need to like move about in your learning. And almost every individual is a combination of these. So don't worry if you're like, oh no, I'm this, it's fine. We're all a combination and probably have touched on each of these at some point in our lives. So understand your modality. In your process, what you want to understand is, what are those tools that fit the modality? Are you a person who needs like an actual planner where you have to write your things down, right? Are you a person who likes to rely on your watch or your device to get your things done, right? Or do you prefer some other type of device, whether it's your phone, whether it's your iPad, whether it's your computer or something else? Or are you a person who likes to rely specifically on certain types of apps to help with that process? And a lot of this comes with trial and error based on your modality. Now, me, because I'm all over the place when it comes to modality, I use a written calendar. I use my phone calendar, and I also have in my office a whiteboard calendar because I need to see. So yes, I'm the one at the end of every month putting things in all of these three different places so I can keep up. But that's my style. Now for practice, it's really about how are you really going to kind of start putting these tools in practice when it comes to your activities? How can you benefit from your modality and the tools to support the activities you need to do? How can you tell your friends, not today, because according to my planner or according to my watch, these are things I have to do? How can you tell your family, well, I want to say yes, but I just need a few hours because it's hard to say no to family, a lot of times. And then with your goals, how are you really putting your goals at the top of your list in response to these other things related to your structures, what you want to think about? Next slide. Protecting is probably the most important part of going to the spa, because this is really about guarding your time. Okay. I know every person on this call has said, oh, I've got to block this out. You block it out, or you try to take time and you end up doing all these other things that have nothing to do with what you wanted to do in the first place. So the way you can help to protect your time or guard your time is set the boundaries, the blocks, and take breaks. Boundaries are about prioritizing. Decide what you're going to do. Decide what you're not going to do. Now, let me be clear. This is why people don't like prioritizing, because they think if it's not a priority, it's not going to get done. It's not important. That's not true. It's a reframing. Prioritizing is just what's important in this very moment, right? In this particular moment. For me, it's being right here. It doesn't mean that my kids' dinner is important. It doesn't mean that the preparation for my work project isn't important. It just means that in this very moment, my priority is to be here. So do that for yourself. It really helps with setting boundaries. Communicate, right? Let people know in your immediate environment your expectations. You know how many times I've been mad at my family or people at work for not doing something and I realized I didn't communicate the expectation? Just tell people what you need, because sometimes even if they kind of feel some kind of way about it, at least they're clear so you can do what you need. And the last thing I would say is list. And when I took a recent poll, I found that over 50% of people like making lists in their time management system. And part of that is it's a comfort thing. You can write it down, you know it's there, you know exactly what you need to do. So I would encourage you, make lists if that's something that works for you. The blocks. There's just too much noise. And when I say noise, it's all media, technology. So, there's so much of it, right? So how can you block out the noise, especially when you're trying to incorporate deep focus into your blueprint? Okay. One way is to really think about how can I limit those notifications? When we started this, there was kind of some rules on how we're going to engage today, right? One thing, like I know for sure, I always do whenever I'm meeting with individuals virtually, is I turn on my do not disturb. So figure out tools you can use to block out those notifications during those times where you need deep focus. Figure out how to use media to your advantage. For example, my kids love watching television, but when they have to focus, right, they put it on mute and just have the pictures playing because of the part of their visual modality, and they do their work. So how can you still engage in media, but make it work for you in a way that you can block out some of this noise? And then, of course, figure out really unique ways to incorporate technology. There are lots of different programs and apps that help you to kind of measure your time use on different programs, on your computer device, on your iPad, on your phone. So figure out how to use technology to also help you block. The last part of the protect part is taking breaks. It's just innate, and especially in those individuals who identify as women, that we don't take breaks. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't pause. You hear the stories. Why do you think work-life balance became so popular? Because it's just something we don't do. And so we tend to not do it until our body sends us a serious smoke signal and is almost on the verge of shutdown. I know I'm guilty of it, and it's something I've had to learn in my career. And so rest is so important. And when you rest, just rest and make sure you know what it looks like for you and just do it. Get quiet with yourself. Getting quiet is a great way to settle your mind and really think through some of the things you decided, some of the things you want to do, some of the people you engage with. Is a great moment to discern what's going on in your life and your blueprint. And lastly, I think, which is so important, is you have to breathe. And later on in some of the hacks, I'm going to tell you a quick breathing exercise. And I don't just mean breathe like I'm doing right now and talking to you. I mean very deliberate and intentional breathing, because that actually supports your physiological capacity of your body. And we'll talk a little bit more about that exercise later. Next slide. The last part of our spa package, if you will go with me, is to adapt. And where you all are at your age range, I know it's hard to adapt. You like it your way. It's just right. It is what it is. You know how I know? Because I was your age once. Yes. And I have 4 kids, and I believe 3 of them are in this age range of most of our guests tonight. So I understand it's your way. It's how you like it. I get it. But guess what? Things change, things happen. And so you have to learn to adapt, but do it in your style. Remember the other parts of the spa. Take those things into consideration. So I encourage you to be flexible. Be okay with transition. Just figure out how to make it work for you. Set your plan. And having that plan allows you to adjust a little bit more seamlessly or easily in your transitions. I mean, you've heard the saying, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So let's not plan to fail, have a plan of action, but at least if it goes awry or goes kind of in a way you didn't expect, you can adjust. Also, ask for help. I'll say that again. Ask for help. I didn't like asking for help when I was younger because I thought it would make me seem like I wasn't strong enough, smart enough, whatever those enoughs are that we tend to put as identifiers in our lives that don't belong. I would, of course, ask family members and close friends, but I wouldn't ask anyone else. And so no one knew that I needed help when I needed help. And so I thought I was the only one suffering in my own little bubble. And as I got older, I realized there are a lot of us dealing with this stuff. And I learned to ask for help. So get comfortable with asking and develop a sense of curiosity for yourself and your life. Like, be in wonder about the things around you. When you connect with people, talk to them. Well, how were you able to do that? How are you able to take that next step? For those of you who are in school and someone's taking a course, you're like, why'd you take that course? Get curious, ask questions, because in that curiosity, you'll learn so much that could actually lead to supporting your blueprint in the long run. And lastly, you want to assess. You can't just cycle through life without actually taking inventory of what you're doing for yourself. Perform regular checkups, right? How are things going? What am I doing different? What do I need to do differently? And I talk about these habits, rhythms, and patterns. Do they need a tune-up? Do I need to throw something out? Do I need to bring in resources to help me? Do that assessment for yourself. And this tool that we're going to, this reflection that we're going to discuss on the next slide is a great way to do a regular assessment for yourself. So next slide. So in this self-reflection, here is what I challenge each of you to do, and do on a regular basis on whatever cycle that fits you. You'll hear me say a lot about the things, a phrasing of whatever fits you, because as a former teacher, I learned a lot about learning style. And I learned that every single learning style has the capacity to learn. You just have to bring it to the level of that style, what fits that style. So whatever your style is, kind of what I talked about in the structure part of the spa package, is really important for you to understand, right? And so what I want you to do is start with 1 to 3 goals that are really crucial. Remember, we're prioritizing now. Right? We're not saying that all your large goals aren't important, but prioritize 1 to 3 crucial goals at this stage of your life. And let's make it even clearer. I know, let's just say you want to be a lawyer, an entertainment lawyer. And I'm using that because I'm a lawyer, so forgive me. So whatever you want to be, that big goal, have that in your head. You know that big goal is your big goal. But for the purposes of this exercise, let's get into the sub goals. That's the smaller goals, the smaller steps, right? So, if you're in school, well, you got to graduate. Even before you have to graduate, you got to complete whatever 101, Econ 101 or Biology 253, or whatever the numbers are now, right? So think about those goals that are priority right now, those 1 to 3 goals. If you're a side hustler, think about that small goal. Maybe you're trying to build a certain number of followers or make a certain connection to get a brand partnership. Like, what are those small goals to get you to that big goal? So identify 1 to 3 goals, and then map out your spa package in relation to those specific goals. How do you need to structure things for goal number 1? You want to be an attorney. You got to finish, let's say, what's a class? Poli-Sci 201, and you got to get an A in Poli-Sci 201, because at some point that A will help you in Poli-Sci 301 to get you to where you need to be to pass the law school entrance exam, right? So map out that SPA package. What's the structure? Identify those modalities. How can you actually protect? How do you need to plan for adapting in the process? Like a prime example, if you're in school, a class you need that is no longer offered. How do you adapt when you plan for that class, right? So map out that SPA package and use this self-reflection in different cycles, maybe at the end of every semester, maybe at the end of every 3 months, maybe in every summer. Whatever works for you, do this so that way you can do the assessment process in the SPA package under ADAPT to help you. All right, next slide. All right, and so when we think about everything I've mentioned, and we ask the question, how does time management really support this journey? Time is such a fundamental component of our physical existence. You know, I started this and I said, it's not just about those seconds, those minutes, and those hours. Time is a cycle that indicates to us that we are still here, right? A second has just gone by. I'm still here talking. In a minute will go by. I'm still here talking, right? So your physical existence in this moment, in this present space, is an aspect of time. So time is a major part of your journey, which is why the relationship you have with time is so important. A lot of us come from backgrounds where for me, I'm raised, I'm African. Even though I was raised in the States, I grew up in a house with an East African father, West African mother. Every event that got scheduled was 2 hours late. It drove me nuts. And that was my relationship with time. Like, okay, so people are supposed to be 2 hours late to things. And because of that, and it annoyed me so, I became so anal about time, you know? And so that's how it impacted me. So we all come with our backgrounds and experiences, which is why you have to deconstruct and figure out what your relationship is. And part of that is understanding what is your rhythm, right? A rhythm is just a natural pattern of how you do things. The natural things, you wake up every morning, you go to bed every night. The majority of us are up when the sun is up, right? Because we really function based on cycles of the sun. Those are called our circadian rhythms. Another thing we naturally do is eat. We naturally breathe, right? We naturally drink water. Well, we're supposed to, so please drink your water, right? So these are natural rhythms that occur. Some of us, your working out is a natural rhythm because of what drives you, what you need. It could be health. It could be just a part of who you are, your DNA, right? So those are just natural rhythms that occur that without a given, almost on autopilot, you just will do them. Okay, so a natural rhythm for me, I know, is using hands to communicate, right? Because for me, it brings emphasis. I used to be a former actor, so I'm always trying to be all over the place with my stuff. So some of that for me has become part of a natural just rhythm. I can't talk with my hands here. And a lot of us can't, but I'm probably worse than most people. Another part of how time management, and I'll get to the time piece, but your habits as well are key. Now, the habits are patterns that aren't necessarily natural, meaning kind of this involuntary, regular action. They're voluntary. We actually choose the things we want to do. And these are the habits, right? If you're choosing to oversleep every day, that's a habit. If you're choosing to not have your water, that's a habit. If you're choosing to associate with someone who you know is not good for you or people like that, those are habits, right? So what you really have to think about in this and how time can support your process is, what are those habits that are working and helping me towards my goals and growth? And what are those habits that are hindering me or holding me back from my goals and my growth, right? So that's how you frame it. And through the cycles of time, when you wake up each day, those seconds, those minutes, those hours, those rhythms and habits play a huge part in developing who you're going to be, which is why it's so important in this space now, especially where you are with the opportunity of youth, really be intentional about asking yourself and really assessing your habits, because they really matter. And in some ways, those habits can inform your rhythm. Here's how. I remember being younger and having a habit of going to bed after midnight. And going to bed after midnight, it created a rhythm, and this is in college, of me always, actually a habit, a pattern of me always reaching for coffee. And then that habit turned into me drinking 4 cups of coffee a day. Okay. I'm talking strong, bold coffee. Okay. And then what that led to is by the time I was in my mid-30s, I had a reaction. So I started being very nervous, anxious, jittery. I started having a lot of digestive issues and I couldn't figure it out. And then eventually in talking to my doctor, he said, what are you doing with caffeine? I'm like, oh yeah, 4 cups a day. I mean, it's what I do. And I had to stop. And the thing with bad habits is when you stop them, there's a counter effect. Your body or whatever you're dealing with is going to say, what is happening, right? So really at this stage of your lives, it's so important to assess your habits on a regular basis because they inform your patterns, which ultimately inform your life, which ultimately dictates the cycle of time that you'll look back on and call your life, your journey, right? And so here's some quick hacks. And this is probably where you can jot down some things really quick that can help you. Let me just grab a little sip of water. See, I'm drinking my water, making this a rhythm. Some quick hacks I want to share. And these are things I think that are beneficial for you if you're in school, you have the side hustle, you have a job, these can be very helpful. One is a 2-minute rule. So there are these tasks, each day you have tasks that take you about this long to get done. And what happens, human nature is, oh, it's not going to take me long. I'll just deal with it later. And that deal with it later list goes from here to here. And then you become stressed out. So the 2-minute rule is this: anything that's going to take you 2 minutes or less, in theory, right? Don't talk about it. Don't plan it. Don't schedule it. Do it. Be like Nike. Just do it. Okay. And how you can do it is this way. You can either schedule 30 minutes each day, 30 minutes every other day, 30 minutes every 2 days, and knock out 2-minute tasks because you probably have about 20 of them. Right? I need to call and make that doctor appointment. Oh, I need to, really quickly, I got to go take those shoes back, or I got to go knock them out. You will feel so accomplished. It's something I do on a regular basis, is that 2-minute rule. The next thing, if you have Apple, I don't know about Android, but I know Apple has something called the notification summaries. When that happened, I was in heaven. Because your phone pings every second on the second. If it's not a text message, if it's not a social media interaction, if it's not an email, if it's not an app telling you, oh, this is your Bible note for the day, whatever it is, there's always a notification. Use a notification summary. You can actually schedule different notifications to happen at a certain time. Mine are 6 a.m., 11 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and I think, 8 p.m., right? Schedule them. And that way you don't have to constantly be interrupted. You can control the interruptions and get everything in one summary. Okay. The third thing, time block, especially if you're a person that likes to use your calendar, right, for planning, or your phone in your calendar. Time blocking is this: you block out a set amount of time for core tasks. Like if you're in school, you probably know that you're doing this in some regards when it comes to assignments or papers. But this is how it can work. So for example, let's just say you have 3 tasks you need to get done towards 1 or 2 goals. And you really know it's not going to take you really long, but you need to sit down and focus and get it done. You could block out 2 hours in your day. Let's say today is tomorrow. Let's say Thursday. You block out 2 hours on your calendar. And what that looks like is you actually taking your calendar and you color coding or drawing the lines or putting a big 2 hour, being very clear so you can actually see or schedule it in your phone that 2 hours is blocked. But don't stop there. When you block the time, put in there what you plan to do. Why? Because it's natural human nature. You block time, your mind automatically thinks, oh, I got time. And then instead of doing the 3 things you wanted, you end up doing the 10 things that have nothing to do with what you wanted. So when you block the time, put the 3 things you want to do, focus on those 3 things and get it done. And you can block however 2 hours, some people block 4 hours. I can't block 4 hours of time just because of the way I am. I have to have like these breaks. So you decide how you want to do that in your calendar. Next one, the Pomodoro method. Pomodoro is just a fancy term because I believe somebody named Pomodoro found this or had something to do with it. But point being, this is for people who are probably more auditory, like they like to hear kind of what's going on. You essentially are setting a timer for deep focus. And some of you are probably already doing this, but they call it something, it's Pomodoro. Pomodoro says every 25 minutes, you're in deep focus. You set your timer on your alarm or your Alexa, whatever you want to do. And then once you set that timer, you get rid of all distractions. That would be your devices. And then you focus for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break and then jump back into another 25 minutes. You do that for 4 cycles. And by the time you're done, you have a little under 3 hours of deep focus work. And it goes like that. But the small chunks help your brain think, oh, I'm just doing this for 25 minutes, as opposed to, I need to work on this for 2.5 hours, right? It's all a reimagining and a reframing. And our brain needs to be tricked on a regular basis because of the habits we have, right? So that the Pomodoro timer is one great way. And if you want to do 30 minutes, it's really whatever works for your style. I tend to do about 45 minutes and then I take a 15-minute break because 25 is just too short for me. So it's really up to your style, but that's the idea of Pomodoro. The last one relates to the breathing that I talked about earlier in our spa package. And this is an exercise I call breathing into and out of the day. But it's really a great exercise for transition. If you're going from one class to the next, if you're about to go to bed, you're transitioning from being up all day to going to bed. If you're transitioning from you just cooked something and now you got to go sit down and prepare something, whatever a transition point is. I was talking on the phone to my friend and now I got to go to whatever your transition point is, you breathe in and breathe out of it. And this is how you do it. You inhale on a 4 count, you hold it on a 4 count, and then you exhale, all right? And so just for the sake of practice, let's just do 1 round right now together. We will inhale and you'll see my fingers here and I'll be doing the 4 count. I think I'm on camera. Yeah, okay. So on 3, we'll start the inhale, okay? So 1, 2, 3, inhale. Hold. Exhale. Like for me, it's an immediate sensation. Like you can even hear my vocal level. It's an immediate sensation. And when you do the breathing in and out of the day, you do it on a 5 cycle. So you do that 5 times. What that does is stimulates what's called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a nerve attached to many elements. And look at a VAGUS. It's attached to many important parts of the body. And when it engages with the diaphragm during that deep breathing, it actually calms you and helps to minimize stress and the production of cortisol, which is produced when you're in stress or fight or flight mode, right? It's an immediate calmer. So I do that a lot in the day when I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just need something. And I just stop and say, okay, just breathe. Do your breathing in, breathing out of the day. It's an immediate transition point for me. All right. So that's another great tool to try and use. So next slide, please. So now I get to hear from you all. I really wanted to make sure you had all this information because I know these are tools you can use like starting tomorrow or even tonight, depending on if you're going to get on your calendaring and do that. But here's all my contact. I do have a podcast. I'm visible on social media because I really believe in promoting this work and helping people to reimagine time. So this is where I open it up for questions, right? Yes.
So if anyone has any questions for Hanifa, you can feel free to use the raise your hand feature or unmute yourself. None came in through the chat. So, so the floor is yours.
I see Camille.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hanifa, you originally, you said a while back that you used to be an actress, and I guess like that piqued my interest because my mom's an actress and I grew up like surrounded in the theater world. So I was just wondering how being an actor, I guess, impacted your time management skills.
Yeah, actually being an actor, and when I was an actor, I was in my 20s. And when I think back on it, I wasn't thinking about time management, but just the process of it, between auditions, between the work, between showing up, there's a huge time management component. And I think I was pretty darn good at time management as an actor, because you got to get to those auditions on time. You got to show up on set on time. You got to get to the production on time. I mean, or it could be a ding on your reputation. And in some instances, it could be a ding on your pay. So yeah, I think it really drove my time management kind of skill set. But that was a time when I was also missing time, right? So it was really more so about the hustle, more so than just kind of enjoying the flow of the process. Great question, thanks. I'm not sure whose hand was first, but I'll go with Crystal and then I'll go to Elizabeth.
Hi, Ms. Barnes. I want to ask you this question. I like to do organize. Like I know, like I love that, but at the same time, like school affected my time and organizing. How I keep keeping my organization on tax on time. Management example.
So how to keep it organized? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use calendars or do you use your phone? What tools?
I have a planner.
You have a planner. Okay.
Mhm.
And how often do you check your planner?
Maybe 3 times and 4.
3 to 4 times a day?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what I would recommend then is, I think for you, when it comes to organizing, is also being clear in your planner. Put the things you plan to do, right? Are you in school? Do you work? Or
I'm in college right now, and then also I'm in the volunteering at Elevator Church, and then also Zoe.
Okay. So what I'd recommend to you, if you have the time, is on Sunday evenings, think about your week.
Mm-hmm.
And in your calendar, write out those key priority things that need to get done in that calendar so you see it. So that way, when Monday comes, you say, oh, right, I have to do this in the morning, or I have to do this in the afternoon, whether it's for school or for your other stuff that you have to do. I would say start with a Sunday night plan and look at your whole week. So that way it's in the back of your mind. And then when you check your calendar, it's just a refresher. Start with that.
Okay, sounds good, Miss Barnes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Hey.
So I was actually typing out my question and it turned out to be very long because I needed to like give some context.
Okay.
So when you mentioned culture, I thought that was hilarious because I've learned that different cultures see time either very similarly or very different. So
Yes.
then, for example, there's like Hmong people time, there's like African time, Guatemalan time. And I had friends who were just calling it like POC time, right? Like we're running on POC time. Because we'd be like a very diverse group of like friends and such. And so we all kind of tended to be late to things. And even like I was even late to my own quinceañera. Like, and even like the father was like, yeah, if you don't get here in like the next 10, 15 minutes, like you can't have your mass, right? And then don't get me started on the whole party, right? Like everyone arrives like later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, right? Yeah. And so I would say I've been chronically late ever since I can remember. And even in high school, I would get the earlier bus to get there earlier so I can be there on time. Mm-hmm. And then it was always like 1 or 2 minutes. So I was like always in detention, not because I was in trouble, but because I could never be on time. So that's how they had it, was like, you're going to go to detention and like write standards to be early is to be on time is to be late. And I like and I get what it means. Yeah. I just, I can't figure out how to make time, not like run through my hands. Right. So at first I was like, oh, it's a character flaw. And then I learned I had ADHD and that there's like, time, like your time blindness, right? And
Yep.
and when I learned that, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I just thought I was like a bad person that like sucked that time.
Mm,
And so even when I try to be early, I'm like, okay, I'm like 10, 15 minutes early. Like I can chill now. Next thing you know, I'm already like 5 minutes late.
yeah.
So I try to like schedule my work life, my personal life. So work, I've gone to the point where I've scheduled every hour. I worked as a high school college counselor. So whether that was running from class to lunch to students,
Mhm.
I had to get like this little like Fitbit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful.
Yeah.
Because then I would get the reminders, but then my personal self kind of like rages and doesn't want to go with that because because we're like, oh, I am like free spirited and I don't want to schedule my time because I already do that at work. But you schedule like doctor appointments that you have to keep up with, right? So like how do you make friend your time? Because for example, like medicine, right? I got the daily organizer, then I got the weekly organizer, then I got the monthly organizer, and none of them worked. So I just have to carry my medicine with me every day. And if I see it, I'll take it. Otherwise, it was very like tedious to do the everyday part. So even as a counselor working with students, the non-scheduled time was the best time. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel of where I stand with time. So it's like, how do you do time?
Yeah, yeah. And you have it's a great kind of thought and question that you pose, because a lot of people have the kind of the spontaneous approach to time. Because and me being a creative, and especially when I was younger, I'm like, I don't want to schedule time. That's the system. I don't want to be in a system, you know. But in actuality, we all operate and function in a system, the systems of our body, the systems kind of this perpetual cycle that we call time. And so I would say for you, pick just one thing. And this is something I talk to clients about when they're one-on-one. Pick one thing, right? One, and just work on just being on time, or what you call on time, for that one thing, and create a habit, just one. Even if it's, I am going to make sure that every day I prepare my breakfast at 8 o'clock. Whatever it is for you, pick one, because what that's going to do, the more you meet the goal, the more you start to recondition the brain and reimagine. You're like, wow, I've been doing this at 8 o'clock for like 20 days now. Right. And the key thing is, if you mess up on day 21, you didn't screw up. On day 22, get back on at 8 o'clock. The more you do that, the more you start to believe, I can do this thing. And then you add the next small thing, right? So take it incrementally, and that can help start that process. But I absolutely understand where you are. But we do have to have structures to kind of function in our society, right? So, but start small, one thing at a time.
Right. Thank you so much. And you're right. I dislike structure, but I know that it helps me thrive.
Yeah.
And I think we should become besties because it's time to. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I know,
yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna say
Hanifa. Hanifa's all of our new bestie because we need her energy in all of our lives always. So thank you so much for everything you shared. I took away a lot. I wrote down my goals and some of my spa package. And I hope everyone here did too. So if you still have any questions, we're going to go into breakout rooms now with some mentors. We can talk through some of our time management habits and have a discussion. Thank you, Hanifa. I will see you all, everybody on the other side. So at about the 05 mark. See you soon. Enjoy. Hello. Welcome back. I hope I wasn't the last one. I feel like my computer's being a little slow. I'm like slowly loading you all up, but great to see your faces coming back into my screen. How was that? How are we feeling? I'd love to hear a representative from each breakout room. My breakout room, we didn't get a chance to nominate anybody. So Elaine, Claudia, Camille, if Nihan, if any of you want to share about our breakout room, I'd love for you to share out. Maybe Claudia.
Sure, thank you. I got to, well, everybody introduced themselves and then I asked a question that I had, which was around revisiting your habits and how to develop a habit of revisiting your habits. And then Hanifa's response was to be very clear cut and just like try to break it down, have the most clarity in order to execute with the most like deliberate approach. And that that was the sum.
Awesome. Love it. It was I loved watching that coaching session between you two. It was awesome to witness and to soak in what I could too. Okay. I'm going to flip it to mentors from group 2. So that was just Mira's group. Mentors from group 2. What tips do you have to support different pattern styles for time management? Are there any tips that you have up your sleeve for time management?
Yes. First of all, somebody says like Emily, one of the mentors, saying this to us, like she was working at McDonald's, and like somebody told us about the time management and everything else. Be on time with work or ethics or anything else, no matter what you do, be on time. So it's like helps like your mental health, focusing on your mental health at the same time is good on stay on foundational balance in life. And like every day, like as women and individuals, like we have sometimes struggle like time management, saying like, oh yeah, what time is it? Oh yeah, I have this meeting. Oh, I have that other meeting, and saying like, you know what, put one meeting on the side, go through that meeting, and spend you on the meeting saying, I'm sorry I was late, and so and then next time don't mess up again. So yeah, I love that my group said that and sharing that. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Crystal. I love all of that. There's a couple things.
Oh, I forgot. No, never mind. Just never mind.
Okay. Yeah, if you're like late to one meeting or late to start the day, it just like snowballs into the rest of the day, and then you feel it spikes up your cortisol because you're all stressed out, and that's not good for anybody's health. So which it happens, and also adapt and breathe in and out of those meetings and those tasks. Maybe we have time for one more, either mentor or young adult want to give a summary, or mentor, any tips that work for you that you would love to share with the rest of the group.
I can jump in on this one. So our group talked a lot about our routines and kind of how we start off our day and how that carries through the rest of the day. But kind of building on what Crystal just shared, we also talked about, what happens when your routine gets disrupted, and having that approach of, having compassion for yourself, having patience, being able to just kind of move forward when your routine gets disrupted, and not letting it disrupt your week or the rest of your day, but just kind of moving past it.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate all of that. Thank you everyone for sharing, and I'm going to pass it over to Jasmira.
Thanks, Sophia. Had a great time in my breakout rooms. So many gems. So now it's time for young adults first to hear from you. So we have a few poll questions that'll be popping up on the screen. So let us know, after this session, my time management habit awareness has increased significantly, increased, not changed, decreased, or decreased significantly. Thank you. And this is just for our young adults, 18 and 23-year-olds. I'll give it a few more seconds before we go on to our next question. All right, and in which ways did the mentors, both speakers and breakout room mentors, maximize your experience in this session? Please select all that apply. They help me feel motivated, they help me learn new skills, help me gain access to resources, help me in ways not listed here, or they didn't help me in any way. Let's see, we're answering both questions. Awesome. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you so much. Mentors, if you would like to share anything about your experience, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and email us so that we can share that as well. So on to some announcements. We are excited to share about what's coming up at Step Up. We invite you to sign up to attend our digital summit, Step Up Together, on September 15th. Step Up Together is a digital summit featuring sessions designed to guide us on our path to success, all to benefit Step Up's mentorship programs that guide girls and those who identify with girlhood to their success. We have a free general access ticket for you all to join. This is our biggest event of the year and open to all. There is a QR code for you up on the screen to sign up, or a link in the chat. We know it's a school day for our girls, but that's okay. You can still join. Our summit will be available on demand, so you will be able to access content and connect with our attendees even after the event. You can see speakers and upcoming sessions available on our Step Up Together website. We hope to see you there. Also, we have an exciting new digital community app to connect you all to each other, your mentors, and the rest of the Step Up community. You will get access to additional content, learning, and resources, and you can join today. Young adult participants, we will share your code in the chat, and mentors can email mo@suwn.org or visit the link to learn more. And that is also in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all so much for joining us in this blueprint session and for being part of Step Up. Your engagement always inspires us. Thank you again to our blueprint founding sponsor, Visible. Our contact information has been dropped in the chat. If you have any questions about our events or want to learn more about how to get involved with us here at Step Up, we look forward to seeing you at future events, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Let me see my